Welcome back, Movie Misfits. It's Throwback Thursday, which brings us to another segment of Junk Drawer FLIX. So let's take a look inside our junk drawer and see what we got. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Junk Drawer FLIX presents License to Drive, which was released in 1988. I know that because I was there. I was there in the movie theater, and I was 7 years old when I saw this. License to Drive stars Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, Heather Graham, Carol Kane, and much, much more. Before I go into a deep synopsis or a deep review, before I do all that, I would like to give the following intro to this film. We're Seth Rogen and James Franco. Before Michael Cera and Jonah Hill, and even before Amy Poehler and Tina Fey, and before Cheech and Chong. Oh, wait a minute. I went a little too far now. Gotta fast forward. Okay, I think I fast forward to the right spot. There was an 80s duo. And that 80s duo was Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. Now, Wes Anderson, played by Corey Haim, has a problem. Mercedes Lane, the girl of his dreams, goes to the same high school as him. Mercedes is played by Heather Graham in this film. Wes finally gets the chance to go out with her on a date. However, that same day, the same day of his date, he failed his driver's exam. So after failing his driver's exam, no one knows that he actually failed. Everyone's under the impression that he passed. He figures he could keep it all to himself and still manage to take Mercedes out on a date. Without anyone noticing, he then could take his driver's exam without anyone noticing, then pass the test, and no one would ever be the wiser. What can possibly go wrong? So a little review of this 80s gem. This film opens up with a pretty cool 80s dream sequence. It's a school bus, and Wes is basically chained to his seat. So during this gnarly dream sequence, you're expecting Freddy Krueger to be driving this bus. It looks like something straight out of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. So after Wes comes from the dream world back into reality, school is ended, and he's seen the love of his life, Mercedes, getting picked up by her college boyfriend, who also apparently is rich and drives a Ferrari. Before we go any further, apparently in the 80s, it was okay for college guys to date high school girls. That's a different discussion and not for me. I'm just here to talk movies. We are now introduced to Wes' best friend, who's named Dino, who's actually played by actor Corey Feldman. When Corey Feldman first comes on the screen, if you close your eyes and listen to his lines, because if you close your eyes, you can actually picture Donatello being on the scene, because actor Corey Feldman did do the voice for Donatello for the first Ninja Turtles movie that was released in 1990. So not only was Wes determined to get his license, his best friends were actually wanting him to get the license because he would be the first one to get his license. While his best friend Dino was still riding a bike to school, Wes did not get his license. That meant he'd either be taking the school bus home or he'd be having to ride Dino's handlebars on his bike. Wes is also having to be in the shadow of his twin sister, who is an overachiever, a hipster, extremely woke. However, Wes's parents are very encouraging towards him. However, they don't understand that things don't come to him as easily as his overachieving twin sister / hipster sister. So anyone that was born in the later 2000s or early 2000s, in the 80s, there was a thing called middle class. And basically middle class meant you were doing very well and you were pretty secure. The only reason why I'm bringing it up, because all the houses that you see in this movie are relatively big. So in the 80s, apparently the middle working class had it made. Sucks for us. So the day finally comes for Wes to take his test. His twin sister passes with flying colors. However, Wes fails the written exam. However, there's a malfunction in the computers and they lost his score. And luckily, his sister had finished the exam before the computer crash. So basically, they went on a curve. So they figured since, hey, Wes, your twin sister passed with flying colors, that probably means you did too. And apparently, you can do the driving test right after you do the actual exam. It was the 80s. So then Wes moves on to take the driving test with Uncle Phil of all people. And Uncle Phil being played by James Avery, and his character in this film is a no-nonsense kind of dude. And also, if you close your eyes during some of his speaking parts during these scenes, you could actually picture Shredder from the actual Ninja Turtles cartoon because James Avery was also the voice of Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon in the 80s. So during Wes's driving exam, there's a lot of stressful driving moments in there. He has to parallel park, he has to drive through traffic, he has to make sure he hits the stops just right, he has to make sure he does everything perfect because the Shredder told him he will fail him right away. So during this nail-biting event, Wes finally passes the driving exam, gets back, takes his license picture, then they let him know that they retrieved his test results from the first exam, and they let him know he failed. So after going home very defeated, he has not told his parents yet that he failed. They are actually under the impression that he passed. He doesn't want to disappoint his parents, so he figures he'll take the test later on that week, and no one will ever be the wiser. There are some funny moments where he's kind of scared of his dad. There are some funny scenes that they use in this film, especially with the sound effects that they use to make him come off as scary. But I wonder if Wes Anderson's kind of scared what his dad might do.
They all float. They all float.
Well, hopefully nothing that dramatic, I hope. So at this point during the movie, Wes's parents figure out that he failed. So they do let him know he's going to be grounded at this time. However, he still has not told his friends that he failed the test. So while staying home in solitude, he gets a call from Mercedes Lane, and she wants to know if the date is still on. While his parents are knocked out, he comes to the decision, do I take the girl of my dreams out on a date?
An innocent girl. A harmless drive. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, movie misfits, everything goes wrong. It starts with a little scratch here and there. Mercedes gets drunk and can't handle her liquor. So Wes reaches out to Donatello, who basically knows some stuff about auto body shop stuff. So then they get the idea to go out and party some more. So basically every wrong thing happens in this movie from this point on. I will say this movie is still very funny and very relatable. Even though it's from the 80s, it's still very entertaining. We get some great performances from Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. And this might be one of my favorite movies that they've done together, outside of The Lost Boys, I would say. License to Drive is currently streaming right now on HBO Max. If you have it, I would definitely check it out. It's an easy watch. It's very enjoyable. And definitely check out this classic duo here, because this movie definitely represents some of their top stuff. And also, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'm Mike the Movie Misfit, and I'll see you at the movies.